So if you ever find yourself asking the question, do I want to feel dusty but look good, or do I want to look dusty but feel good? And you deal with sensitive skin, I want to tell you that there's a better way to think about it. There's more than two answers to that question, more than two choices. And today I want to go into that. I'm going to give some tips, some tricks that I've come across myself on how to go about dressing so that you can feel and look as good as possible when you're dealing with sensitive skin, inflammatory conditions, etc., etc. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Steven. I like to dive deep into sensitive skin topics, things that kind of plague daily life, so that if you deal with sensitive skin, you can live a more fruitful life and not have as many restrictions on a day-to-day basis. Welcome back. If you are somebody who has seen my videos before, you'll understand that I dealt with eczema growing up severely, up until about age 14, and went into remission. And then as of about 2 years ago, sorry, lost my train of thought. About 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, I started a TSW journey because my eczema started coming back, or the eczema I dealt with started coming back, and I went on topical steroids. And long story short, steroids didn't work. My body went into withdrawal when I stopped them. And so now I'm 2 years in. Now, that explains the no eyebrows if you're new here. I'll let you know when they start coming back. So how do we dress to make sure that we are feeling as comfortable as possible, not inciting any additional itch or dryness, and we look our absolute best in the same outfit or in the same time frame? Now, some of these are going to be pretty straightforward. You've heard of these before, but some of these I actually discovered myself, and I realize a lot of people don't know them. So starting off with the first one, natural fibers is going to be your friend. That's the first thing that people tell you is avoid synthetics like polyester, acrylamide, acrylate, that kind of stuff. But natural fibers include cotton, linen, hemp. That's another one that kind of goes in line with linen, but it's a little bit different. Wool, cashmere, bamboo, but bamboo is kind of a viscose material that's usually semi-synthetic. We'll get into that later. Natural fibers are great. They allow for your skin to breathe because they let airflow kind of be part of the, it's one of the properties of natural fibers that airflow is a little more available, and so that lets your skin breathe. It does not have a chemical treatment, depending on the quality, that can leave residue behind. So semi-synthetics is a different story. Again, I'll get to that later. But natural fibers in your clothing, whether that's a blend or a straight fiber like a cotton twill or something like that, it can lend itself to be less irritating on the skin. Now, wool is something I need to point out. Wool is a bit different. The reason I say wool is different is because wool comes from sheep, and sheep produce lanolin from their sebaceous glands, I think. It's similar to how us humans produce sebum, and that lubricates our skin, keeps us from drying out fully. It kind of prevents bacteria from getting into certain areas. Sheep's wool also has lanolin on it, and that keeps it from what I remember, it kind of conditions the wool to make sure it doesn't dry out. It also kind of protects it from the elements and whatnot. It can insulate if it's cold, that kind of stuff. So when wool is treated after it's sheared from a sheep, a lot of times the lanolin will be extracted to a certain degree. It's never fully extracted. A lot of people that deal with sensitive skin or inflammatory conditions, they have heightened allergy responses to things like wool because of the leftover lanolin. So what do we do about that? You can go for something that is a more, I don't want to say refined, but something that's a little more processed, that would lend itself to be a little less natural in that, right, where it's, leaving a lot of the lanolin behind. Or you can go with something that has a lining in it. So I've seen wool, like cardigans, wool jackets. I've seen wool coats that have a linen or a cotton lining in it, so that the wool, you get the benefit of the insulation of heat from the wool, but you also get a protective barrier in between your skin and the wool that keeps you from interacting with it directly. I mentioned semi-synthetics. So what are they? They are natural fibers derived from things like wood pulp, bamboo pulp, that kind of stuff. They have been chemically treated and engaged with by machinery to form natural fibers that can be used for clothing. Again, chemically treated. So it's not as if it's something just pulled from a tree or a plant and it's spun into a fiber. It has to be treated. And so it's essentially just like cellulose pulp that's turned into fibers for clothing. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but environmentally, depending on how it's done, the chemicals can be pretty bad for the environment. The offloading of like the waste products can be bad for the environment. But however, a lot of these wood pulps would have been discarded anyways. It would have been put into a landfill or something like that, or used in a different application. So it just allows for another use case to be available for something that's considered a waste product anyways, and you can make clothing out of it. It's a catch-22, but there are some processes that are pretty good with it. Bamboo is one of the most notable ones, and there's bamboo, there's bamboo viscose, there's rayon, there are a few more, and those typically can be good for sensitive skin if they're not heavily processed or they don't have like a whole bunch of dye in them. A lot of times you can have a product that feels like something else, like for example, a bamboo viscose that feels like silk, or a rayon that feels like cotton. That in my history, I literally thought rayon was a type of cotton, like back in the day. So that shows how much it can feel like something else. And you can use those, but just be wary that it is chemically processed, and so you can have some irritation come up if it's touching your skin directly. Tip number 2 is to wear more thin layers than less thick layers. So for example, if it is, I don't know, like fall weather-ish outside, it's breezy, it's cool, it's not extremely cold, it's not snowing, but it's definitely not, walk out in a tank top weather unless, you are just that person that likes to wear a tank top and shorts in like 40-degree Fahrenheit weather. That you do you. But for us normal people, we're going to want to layer up and cover ourselves up. And so if you deal with sensitive skin, you do strike a bit of a balance. You have to strike a bit of a balance between keeping yourself cool, because you don't want to be too warm to where you start sweating, and then sweat gets into cuts and abrasions, and then you start itching, and it becomes a whole nightmare, and then the fabric's running on you. You have to strike that balance between being too cool or too warm. And so what I've experienced, in my opinion, is a much better time with having more thin layers, meaning that I have multiple thin layers as opposed to like 2 thick layers. So instead of wearing a knit jumper and then a wool coat and then like a cashmere scarf or something like that, I instead would have a thin cotton tank top, a t-shirt, a sweater over the t-shirt, depending on how cold it is, of course, a sweater over the t-shirt or a long sleeve over the t-shirt, and then a lighter jacket. So what this allows for me to do is throughout the day, when it starts to heat up, because I live in Florida, US, this 100% heat up. It's going to start at like 30 degrees in the morning, 30 degrees Fahrenheit in the morning, and then get up to like 80 degrees Fahrenheit by noon. It's incredible. I'll start out wearing everything, and then as the day progresses, I can take off layers more easily to make sure I'm not too hot or too cool. If I was just wearing the knit jumper and the wool coat, if it became too hot for the wool coat, then I would take off the wool coat. I'm probably either going to be too cool and my skin's going to feel dry and clammy, and then I'm going to start itching or need to put on more lotion because my skin is starting to, the flakes are starting to show themselves. I'd have to deal with it by putting on more lotion, or I just have to bite the bullet and let myself sweat in the wool coat until it becomes way too hot for the coat and just perfect for the sweater. And then at that point, if it becomes too warm for the sweater, well, I'm kind of out of luck. I can't just walk around shirtless, right? If I have more layers, but they're thinner, then I can take them off and kind of do like the magician with like all the scarves that are like tied together. I just keep taking clothes off and I still have something underneath. That's kind of how it feels. And it feels much better doing it that way as opposed to having thicker layers on. Tip number 3, undergarments are everything. And I'm not just talking about socks and underwear. I mean like thermals, something that you can use even in the summer. I know it crazy concept. It's all a matter of what fabric that you use. But things like thermals, I guess you can consider socks. That kind of, depends. But long socks, I typically only wear long socks because it allows for me to cover up my skin and then have it more insulated, because I have patches on my upper ankle, lower shin. So it just allows for it to be covered. And it's not because I don't like the way it looks. Like, I'm fine with it. I don't really care how my skin looks. It's more so it feels more comfortable to me. So socks, thermals, tank tops, undershirts, like t-shirts, your basics. If you want to wear something that is like a long sleeve t-shirt, I would definitely recommend that at night. It's best to keep you cool, keep yourself cool at night. And so having the air conditioning running at, I don't know, like 72 degrees to keep your room cool, and then wear a long sleeve so that a long, tight fitting, or tighter, not too tight, not like a rash guard, but like tighter fitting long sleeve shirt in a decent fabric like cotton or like a cashmere. Linen would be really good too, but you kind of want a bit of a stretch. Linen stretch blends don't necessarily tend themselves to be as durable, and if you're wearing it at night, you kind of want it to be durable because you're going to be scratching without you knowing. So yeah, I'd definitely say cotton, viscose, if you want to go the semi-synthetic route, mixed with spandex, that like a very low percentage, not like 20% spandex, but like maybe like a 2 to 5% spandex might be good. That will allow it to be form-fitting, but not too tight, not too close to the skin, and it still has the breathability of the cotton or the viscose. So you can take that and you can translate it into things like workout leggings, and you can wear that throughout the day. Now, what I've discovered in the TSW journey that I've been going through is I honestly like wearing them all the time. So I'm going to buy from, I don't know, H&M or something like that, a throwaway pair or throwaway set. How they have those packs of long sleeve t-shirts. I'm gonna get like a throwaway pack of those in black, and then a throwaway pack in not white. I have darker skin, so when I start flaking and whatnot, black, yes, the flakes will show up, cool, I can just kind of dust those off. The oils from my skin will stain the white shirt, so I'm gonna go for something more like a grayish, maybe like a gray beige. I'm gonna see if I can find some. I should be able to, maybe from Uniqlo. Could be more expensive, but it works better and I can use it for long term. But yeah, going with those for the top. And then for bottoms, I honestly like to wear a traditional cotton spandex blend for like leggings or tights, if you want to call them that, under my jeans and under joggers and whatnot, even when it's like 80 degrees outside. Now that goes into what fabrics that you're wearing. And there's another point later on that we'll touch on that also goes into this. But the fabric that you're wearing is extremely important. If you use the natural fibers, then you'll have more likelihood of having better breathability for your skin as the day goes on, regardless of how hot it is or where you are. So I would recommend getting maybe athletic socks. A polyester blend might be okay if you don't sweat a lot, if your feet don't sweat. If your feet sweat, don't do that. Get like a cotton spandex rayon blend, and maybe a little bit, like 15 to 20% polyester for the structural component, but really try to avoid the synthetic. Stick with mostly cotton, or mostly natural fibers, smaller percentage of semi-synthetic fiber, and then a very, very small percentage of synthetic fibers to have a nice blend. When it comes to the leggings, it's okay to have a higher spandex ratio in the leggings because you want them to not interfere with your jeans or pants too much. So if you're wearing a trouser, you can have it under the trouser and it's not going to catch at your ankles if it's tight and form-fitting but not too thick. For the top, you can use that as if it's a t-shirt, like if you're wearing a cardigan, If you get one that's a little bit on the thinner side, you can wear like a cream cardigan and have a white t-shirt underneath, a white long sleeve underneath, and that would keep your skin from interacting with the cardigan so that you don't have to wash it as often. But then you have the t-shirt that's also essentially holding your skin in place. That's one of the other reasons why I say undergarments are everything, is because it can make it feel as if your skin is being hugged all the time. Now, why is that a good thing? There's a threshold psychologically, or I think neurologically is the way to say it, where if something is interacting with you for a long term, your threshold of response actually goes down. So what does that look like? Well, you have shoes on and you have socks on. Over time, you forget the sensation of the initial putting the shoes on and them fitting in on your foot and whatnot. I can't remember what it's called. I'll probably put it on screen. But the concept is essentially saying the more that something is interacting with you, the less you start to be aware of it. If we do that with your skin, if we take advantage of that in your skin, you can have these form-fitting things on your skin so that when, for example, something rubs up against you, there's more of a barrier. So it doesn't cause that, oh, something touched me and now my skin itches. It doesn't cause that as much, nearly as much. And you get the benefits of not having your skin be aware of the elements too readily, and so you almost forget that your skin is not normal most of the time. Tip number 4 is to focus on color, les couleurs, a little bit more, but in a different way than what you were probably taught. So I was told growing up that dark colors absorb more heat or make you feel hotter. And so in order to not be hot throughout the day, you should probably just stick to light colors. Not untrue, but I think we should think a little more deeply about it. So the fact that dark colors absorb more light, that's true. That's why they don't show color, is because they're absorbing the color. They're absorbing the part of the spectrum that's they're not emitting or reflecting. And so a black shirt is absorbing every aspect of white light and not reflecting as much light, whereas a green shirt is reflecting green light as the sun goes down. A green shirt is reflecting the green part of the spectrum of white light and absorbing the rest. And so when it reflects it, that's what you see. That's what hits our eyes, and it's erotic cones, and that's what our brain processes as the color of the thing. So when something absorbs more of a spectrum of light, it essentially energizes it more, not like new age energize. I'm talking about chemically, it is energizing the atoms within, or the molecules within the actual fabrics more. And so that transfers to your skin, which makes you feel hotter. That's the whole concept behind it. So it's not just that black is a hotter color. It's that if it is interacting with light, it will heat up more readily. So we have to think about color a little bit differently than people who don't deal with sensitive skin or inflammatory conditions. I made the mention before of saying that I don't want to get white tops. Now, why is that? I said before, it's because the oils on my skin, they will show themselves on white more readily. So what do? Most of my clothes are dark. Most of my clothes are like black, some pastel stuff. With the pastels, it's harder to see some of the oils that come up from me putting on lotion like 10 times a day. And so what I would recommend if you want to wear color, because there's some people that do want to wear color, we'll talk about skin tone with color in a little bit, but just generalize if you want to wear color, I would say wear darker colors close to the skin. And if you want to add lighter colors, keep them further away with like a barrier in between. So that goes back to what I was talking about in the last point of saying you can get undergarments that will make a barrier between what you're currently wearing at the top and your skin. So for example, if I am wearing a cream top and it's a little warm outside, I would generally have like a black tank top or a black t-shirt underneath, or if I'm wearing a cream jumper, I would have a black long sleeve underneath. Now that sounds like a lot of clothes, but that goes back into the fabrics that I'm using. If I'm using breathable fabrics, it's better than using something that's synthetic. I still get the breathability while also reaping the benefit of wearing a lighter color so that it's not heating up as much. And then I have a barrier between my clothes and my skin so that I have the oils getting on the black shirt, but the light hitting the cream shirt so that the oils don't come up on the cream shirt and the light isn't hitting the black shirt. So I'm insulated from the heat, but I'm also making sure that I'm not showing that I'm wearing 12 layers of emollients and whatnot on a regular basis. Now, let's talk about skin tone. As far as like, undertones, are you neutral? Are you warm? If you're dealing with an inflammatory condition, unfortunately, you lean toward the warm part because inflammation is just additional blood flow, at certain areas. That's the best way to think about it. The quickest way to think about it, it's not fully true, but the quickest way to think about it is you just have extra blood flow in a particular area. And so with blood being red, your skin will be more red. So even if your normal skin has a neutral skin tone or no neutral undertone, you're going to lean more toward the red. If you are in the warmer undertones when your skin is normal, like me, I have yellow undertones. Right now, I lean more toward orange and reds. That's how you can see up here is red, but you see here is like a yellow undertone. If you were cooler and you lean more toward green, unfortunately, green and red makes gray and browns. So you're going to be more dusty looking, unfortunately, but that's like a neutral. So I'm still trying to figure out the whole color theory behind how to make sure that you are being complementary to your undertones. But I found in my experience, if I lean heavily into my undertones, as in like if I lean into red clothing, I'm going to show up more red and I don't want that. So if I want to wear something that's on the warmer side, I'll try to stick to like maybe orangish. And that lends itself to warmer browns like tans and whatnot, but not too warm, right? So like a beige, a taupe might be good. Something like an off-white that has more gray undertones rather than the yellow undertones, that might be good for my skin. And so taking that same concept to other things, if you have the gray undertones, wearing grays that don't necessarily have as strong of the warmth to them. So they're like neutral grays or warm grays and cool grays. If you lean more toward the warm grays, those may wash you out just a little bit. Again, I'm trying to figure it out myself, but I just know that you need to be wary of what color undertones you're wearing based on what your skin was when it's normal or is when it's normal and what it is right now. Point number 5. This video is a lot longer than I expected, but I love it. I love that I get to talk about these things and then help somebody because I know I would have benefited from it the most when I was dealing with eczema, not in TSW, but eczema. Tip number 5. Fit is a tool. Not outfit, but proportions and fit when it comes to the individual pieces of clothing. Don't just wear skin tight things. Don't just wear all baggy things. Use it to your advantage. If you are wanting to have a more proportional outfit and you want to test some things a little bit, you like wearing a boots. You can go with baggier jeans or like a wide leg trouser, or what's been very popular right now. The balloon fit is one and the barrel fit is another one. You can go with those two as well. What I would say is if you go with those, again, natural fibers is probably better. So if you go with a balloon fit or a barrel fit, that's usually going to be a canvas or like cotton material. You could stick with that. With a barrel leg trouser, maybe lean more toward like linen, cotton, or if you're wearing jeans, just make sure it's not too heavy on the skin. And with the barrel leg fit, usually it's going to have more of a structure to it. So you'll have that breathability and that airflow being able to come underneath the pant leg and then within. So that feels very good, I've found, in my opinion. Oh, sorry, it's been a few days. Yeah, I don't know what happened to my last clip. I was talking about point number 5 as far as fit being everything. Yeah, we're going a little dry. But fit being everything. And so proportions is a great thing that you can consider when you're wanting to have better airflow in your outfits, and also make sure you're adding layers without adding layers of heat as well, or heating up while you're wearing things that you want to wear. So I was saying before, if you have one item like pants that are a bit more on like the balloon side, then you can tighten up the top because now you have more of an allowance. If you think of it like this, where you have a certain allowance of restrictive clothing that you can wear in any given outfit. Then you can play with proportions and saying that, you know, my shirt is tight, and so I should probably wear a baggier pant or a looser overshirt to make sure that I'm not restricting airflow too much, right? I got a little bit dark, sorry. It's hard to find, you know, decent lighting all the time while you're driving. So please excuse the lighting, sorry about that. But yeah, if you think about it that way, I think that's probably one of the best ways to go about making sure that you can add layers in your fit, and you can consistently keep airflow high so that you're not getting too sweaty, but it's not so high to where you're drying out all the time. I think that's, in my opinion, one of the best ways to go about it. So overall, those are all of my tips, all 5 tips that I think would help you the most when it comes to wanting to dress more aesthetically pleasing, as the people would say. That would allow you to wear more layers, wear certain types of clothing without having to worry about irritation from wearing unnatural fibers, wearing clothing that allows you to wear more layers so that you're not consistently, you know, putting grease or oils or emollients on the upper layers because you're lotioning up so much, wearing color. There's a whole bunch of stuff that you can go into with all these tips. And I think using this will allow you to dress more effectively regardless of the style that you consider to be your own personal style. If you found this video helpful, please be sure to leave a like. It helps out a lot. And if you like this kind of content, I would encourage you to subscribe. That way, and it's really bright, sheesh. If you really like this content, if you want to see more of this, I'd really encourage you to subscribe. That allows you to see when I post a video. I try to keep up with posting every 2 weeks. And so when I post content, I'm more so focused on skin health or a healthy lifestyle with regard to skin that isn't necessarily normal. So for me, I'm walking through TSW, I mentioned that before, and I want to live as fruitful of a life as possible. I don't want to be bound by limitations, even though I'm not necessarily dealing with the easiest thing in the world. Hopefully this video helped you. I know it would have helped me had I been encouraged to see this information when I was going through the pits of my eczema. But now dealing with TSW, I feel like this is a great way to encourage people to see that you can still dress well regardless of what your skin looks like or feels like. Until next time, peace.